Hey, what's happening, everybody? I'm Coach Brian, certified strength coach, certified triathlon coach with criticalbench.com. Thanks for watching. And I'm showing you 4 awesome hamstring exercises that you can use if you're a runner. Even if you're not a runner, these are great exercises regardless. Now, in these particular exercises, they're unilateral movements. That means we're focusing on one limb at a time. Now, I know you know what running is, and you know that it's a pendulum type of movement. That means you're going to do some counter movements. So if the right arm swings, the left arm is going to go back. Same thing with the legs. If you're going to take a step with the right leg, the left leg has to do the swing or the stance. So it's very important when you're doing hamstring training that you focus on those isolated movements, one side versus the other. Because a lot of runners, they have some underlying issues. They have maybe a stronger right leg versus a left leg. There's definitely going to be some imbalances that need to be corrected. And the only way to correct them is through particular exercises that focus on unilateral training. That's enough said. So here are the 4 exercises that you need to do as a runner to hit those hamstrings. First one is a single leg deadlift. You're going to grab a kettlebell, a dumbbell, and what you're going to be doing is balancing on one leg. So I had the weight in my right hand. I'm going to be balancing on my left leg, and I'm going to be reaching down, standing back up. Very simple movement. Very challenging because you have to emphasize and focus on stability. And notice as my body goes down, my body goes forward, my back leg is extended back up. Now what I see very common in runners is that their hips are all jacked up. They do this because what happens is they have tight hip flexors from running, from being in that flex position, and they don't do enough extension opening up those hips. So when you're doing this particular exercise, you really got to emphasize on keeping those hips neutral. And what that looks like is this right here. This is a neutral position. That right hip is down, not here. Hopefully you can see the difference. It's very challenging. If you've never ever been taught that or tried it, it's very challenging. So I would even say stay away from the weight, and you might even need to hold on to something until you get a little more mobility in the hips. Great exercise to start with. The other 3 exercises are going to be on the ground. The second exercise is a single leg glute bridge. You definitely want to hit the glutes on that. Obviously, it's called a glute bridge. But there's a technique you can do to make sure you're getting more of the hamstrings. So elevate your position. This is an elevated position here. So now what you need to do is make sure you're not as close to the platform or the bench as you think you ought to be. So what that looks like is that you don't want the knees to be at a 90 degrees. So when you lift up, your knees should not be at a 90 degrees. What you need to do is walk your way out. So maybe you're at 110 degrees or whatever it looks like, but you want to be further away to get more hit on those hamstrings there. And another thing to do, you want to point your toes out. You got that? So point your toes out. Now you're going to go to one leg. Here, down. Actually, let's switch sides so you get a better angle. Down. This toe is pointed out. This leg is just elevated. My hamstrings are already feeling this. So really it's a hamstring bridge. You don't really want to call it a glute bridge, but a lot of people refer to it as a glute bridge. Obviously we do the same thing on the other side, but I don't need to show you that just for time's sake. So again, to get the most out of this particular one, you got to scoot your body away from the bar to get more of the elongated stretch in that hamstring. If you're too close, it's going to be too much of the glutes. The third exercise, if you don't have access to one of these suspension straps, you might be out of luck on this one. However, this is a great exercise. I call it a reverse mountain climber. These are just simple suspension straps. You're going to anchor your feet, the heels and the bottom of the straps. You're going to get in a supine position on your back. You want to make sure that you've got the feet neutral. They're lined in with each other. Hips go up, bring in, switching sides. My hips are always going to be elevated. Again, I'm pointing my toes. That's going to take a little bit of stress off the gastroc, your calf muscle. And you can even isolate one leg at a time for this one. That's enough hamstring work because my hamstrings are already feeling that one. That's a great exercise, but the main thing you need to do on that one is to keep the feet, or excuse me, keep the hips up and toes pointed. Take your time with that. It's not an easy exercise, but once you start getting familiar with it, you're definitely gonna see the benefit of that. The last exercise, you're gonna be on your back again. This one's a good body weight exercise. This is gonna get in the glute bridge stance. And now what you're gonna do is you're gonna slowly walk your heels out, walk your feet away from the body, keeping the toes up. Keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. Hold it for a couple seconds and then walk back in. Hips have to stay up. You might only be able to get 3 reps or so. Lots of little steps, keep those toes up. Hold it for a couple seconds and back in. So out of those 4 exercises, there's not really an easy exercise. They're all challenging, but they also work the right muscles associated with running, and they're definitely gonna help you balance out any issues that you might have associated with running. So try those out, take your time and practice them, and you'll see the great benefit of these exercises. So I know you love that video on hamstring training. There's gonna be something else you're gonna find just as helpful. It's all contained in a report that I wrote called Why Stretching Won't Make You Flexible. A couple different ways to get it. One way is to go over here where I'm pointing. There's a little arrow under this video. Click that arrow. That's going to drop open our video description area. You'll see a link at the top that says criticalbench.com/stretching. Click the link, give us your email reports on its way to you. An easier way is just to click this right here. Click it, give us your email reports on its way to you as well. Subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to do that. And also check out this other video that's going to help transform your hamstrings and quads and glutes. Before you go, comments, questions, suggestions, leave them now below. I'm Coach Brian from criticalbench.com. Thanks for tuning in.